Hey, hello everybody and welcome back once again to the podcast. This is British English Pod with me, Lewis, otherwise known as Lewis Rollinson, or English with Lewis. And as you are aware, every Friday I upload a new podcast of me chatting about random topics. And I thought that this week we could speak about my country, about the United Kingdom, and recommend some places that you should visit if you are planning on going to the UK. And I'm going to take inspiration from a blog post that I wrote a few months ago to recommend some different places, some of which I have already visited, and others I still haven't been yet, because it's funny. I don't know if the same thing happens to you or not, but usually we dream about visiting these places that are far, far away from our hometown, and we think about going to other continents, other countries, these very extreme, exotic locations, and we take for granted the fact that we have many beautiful places in our own country. So this is in part a message from me to myself to maybe travel around the UK a little bit more, because the United Kingdom is a beautiful island. Yes, in my opinion, we have a little bit, I don't know, of overpopulation for the size of the country. We don't have that much nature anymore because we've been an established, developed civilization for a very long time. So now the areas of countryside are less and less. They are few and far between. But we still have lots of gems, lots of little jewels, lots of amazing places that you should visit, and I should visit as well, if I haven't been there already. But before I get started, I want to hear about you and your country. So, where are you from? Have you visited all of the corners of your country? And what are the places that you would recommend visiting from your country? Perhaps not the capital city, because usually if you think about visiting a place, you will go to the capital city because you have to anyway, because it's the easiest way of getting there and traveling there. But not including the capital, where should I visit? If I go to Brazil, where should I go? If I visit Peru, where should I go? If I go to Mongolia, where should I go? If I go to Vietnam, where should I go? So let me know in the comments for some places that I could visit that are a little bit off the beaten path or off the beaten track, which is a nice expression because off the beaten track or path means the places that are less common, or at least less commonly visited by tourists. So, if I were to give you some advice, I would say instead of going just to Barcelona and Madrid in Spain, maybe you should go to other places like Asturias. And this is a region that is a little bit more off the beaten path. It's a bit off the beaten track. And apologies if you hear any background noise. It's a little bit warm again, and I've got my skylight open, and I was just hearing some people on motorbikes that were zoom whizzing past my house. And speaking about visiting places that are off the beaten path, I keep thinking and wondering and asking myself, maybe it's time that I go and live, off the grid. And I live in the countryside, places where you don't have as much traffic, because it's frustrating. It's annoying. it gets on my nerves when I'm recording something and then I hear the sirens of ambulances, or I hear a group of people screaming and shouting, or maybe, like just now, I hear people beeping, pressing their horn, or accelerating past my flat. The problems of living in a city. What are you going to do? Hey? So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to start recommending some places, and you might think that I'm from Leeds, and I've mentioned that I am from Leeds on multiple occasions, but I reckon you should Google my hometown. And this isn't one of the official recommendations of places you should visit, but, if you're around the area of Yorkshire, Leeds, Manchester, etc., maybe you can hop on a train and you can go to Bingley. My hometown is called Bingley. Bingley. I'm from Bingley, or colloquially, we might call it Bingers. And Bingley is a small town. It's in a valley. There are lots of other small towns around it. It's well communicated with Leeds and Bradford, and more or less Manchester. You have some beautiful hills, some nice forests. You have quite a famous canal that runs through the centre, and it is the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. And this is a huge canal, a really long one, which goes, as the name indicates, from Leeds city centre all the way to Liverpool. So, 100 years ago, this was a really common route for ships to carry merchandise, and it was a much easier way of doing it than paying for petrol and getting cars and trucks and lorries to deliver different goods. So this is a nice canal. It's a great place to go for a walk, and it crosses with a local river as well. So Bingley is a really nice place. In terms of tourist attractions, there's not really that much to do. But if you want to get away from the city centre and have some nice views, some friendly people, then go to Bingley. Check it out. All right, let me share my screen now, and I'm going to read basically this blog and give some of my thoughts. And the blog name is simple, really. Places you have to visit in the United Kingdom. And if you'd like me to write more blogs on my website, just let me know, because to be honest, I haven't really written any recently, and maybe it's about time I do it, because usually I focus more of my time and attention and energy on my weekly newsletter, which goes out every Monday. And if you want to sign up to my weekly newsletter, I'll leave a link in the video description. It's completely free, and every week I teach you some new vocabulary, some curiosities about Brits, the UK, and British English, or more recently, I've been teaching some different grammatical structures. So check out my newsletter. All right, so the United Kingdom. Beautiful place. So the United Kingdom is packed with stunning landscapes, historic landmarks, and vibrant cities. Whether you're interested in ancient history, beautiful scenery, or lively culture, there's something for everyone. From bustling metropolises to quaint villages, and from rolling hills to craggy coastlines, the UK offers an incredible variety of destinations. And here are 15 of the best places to visit in the UK, with explanations on why each one is worth your time, as well as suggestions of things you can see and do while you're there. So that's the introduction. And of course, whenever we speak about the UK, we have to speak about possibly the capital of the world, or at least the city that was the capital of the world for many decades and perhaps even centuries. Yes, it is London, or as Londoners might say, London, London. Some people from London are called Cockney, but more generically, people from London are Londoners. You are a Londoner, or you are a Cockney if you're from the East End of London. And why should you visit? Well, as the capital city of the UK, London is a must-see destination with world-renowned landmarks like Buckingham Palace, the Tower of London, and Big Ben. It's also a hub for arts, culture, and fashion, offering everything from top-tier museums like the British Museum to iconic shopping streets like Oxford Street. Whether you're interested in history, theatre, or simply enjoying world-class dining and shopping, London has it all. And for many people, London has a special place in their heart. For me, London, it's cool, it's vibing, there's always lots to do, but personally, I don't think it's a very livable city. And the reason why I don't think it's that livable is because it's too big. It's so sprawling that if you live in one side of the city and your friend lives in another side of the city, it's like you live in two different cities. It's going to be so hard to meet up. You can only really meet in the middle to make it more convenient. But London has got a lot going on. Of course, you have great pubs, great sport, great music, musicals, theatres, and so many different advantages. But for me, I don't think I like such a big city vibe. I think it's a bit stressful, to be honest. So I wouldn't want to live in London. I never have wanted to live in London. Also because the cost of living is so high. But it's a great place to go for a long weekend, or maybe a week, because when you're there and you're seeing all of these amazing landmarks, it does make you feel like, oh wow, I've seen that in some series. Oh, I've seen that place in films. And, you know, it's got a special something. Not for me in terms of living, but great for a long weekend. And some highlights of London would be the Tower of London, if you want to see the crown jewels. You can even take a ride on the London Eye for stunning views of the city. As long as you don't have vertigo or you don't get a little bit scared and intimidated by the heights, you're fine. Then, on top of that, you can stroll through Hyde Park or visit the West End for theatre shows. I know a couple of students who've been recently to London and gone to the West End. And then, if you're more into art, you can go to the Tate Modern or the National Gallery, and that way you can see some world-class art. And, last but not least, you could take a walking tour of Notting Hill, which is famous for its pastel houses and lively Portobello Road market. In fact, when I went to London a couple of months ago, I did walk along Notting Hill and I went to the market, and it was cool. I'd recommend it. Now, the second place I'd recommend is Edinburgh. Edinburgh. Not Edinburgh, but Edinburgh. And this is the capital of Scotland, of course. Not to be confused with Glasgow, because Glasgow is more populated, but Edinburgh has more to offer in terms of history. And I don't know, I think it's really pretty, to be honest. So, why should you visit? Scotland's capital is steeped in history and brimming with charm. The city's medieval old town contrasts with the elegant Georgian new town. Edinburgh Castle, perched atop a hill, dominates the skyline and provides stunning views over the city. The city also hosts the world-famous Edinburgh Festival in August, which is a must for arts lovers and comedy lovers as well. And I've been to Edinburgh a couple of times, and each time I've been, I've thought to myself, unlike London, wow, I think I could live here. This is a bit of me. Because it's not too big, but it's big enough. It's really beautiful. You still have good transport connections. There are lots of great pubs as well. And the buildings are just really, really beautiful. So I've been once with my friends. I went in August for Fringe Festival, which is a comedy festival, which is really cool. You have different shows around the city, different artists are doing stand-up comedy, which is really nice. A very good time to visit because if you're lucky, the weather will be good as well. And the second time I visited was, I think, a year and a half ago. And I went with my girlfriend, and she was flying from Brussels. I was getting the train up from Leeds, and we arrived, and it was really, really sunny, which was surprising because as I was leaving my house around Leeds, Bingley, it had been snowing, and the ground was covered in snow. The snow had settled. So I was even wearing my wellies. I got on the train, and then as I was leaving England and approaching Scotland, the sun came out and it hadn't been snowing up north. Which, of course, if you're thinking about the geography of the UK, England is more to the south than Scotland. So it was unusual and pretty cool that I was coming from further south where it was freezing and it had been snowing. And I was going up to Scotland and there was just a perfectly blue sky. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. So it was amazing. And we ate well. We had some drinks. We went for nice walks. We went to the castle. We did lots of cool things, and it was a really, really memorable weekend. So I think you should definitely visit Edinburgh. And here are some of the highlights. You can walk the Royal Mile up to Edinburgh Castle. You can explore the spooky underground vaults and take ghost tours. You can also hike Arthur's Seat for panoramic views of the city. And this is like a minor mountain in the outskirts of Edinburgh. On top of that, you can visit the Scottish National Gallery for a taste of Scotland's art and heritage. And you can take a day trip to Roslin Chapel, which is famous for its connection to the Knights Templar and the Da Vinci Code. So, Edinburgh. If you haven't been, you've got to go. It is a must-see and a must-visit. Now let me move on to a region which is quite close to my heart and close to where I'm from, and I've been on multiple occasions, and it is in the north west of England, just to the north of Manchester and Liverpool, and it is called the Lake District. And why should you visit the Lake District? Well, the Lake District in Cumbria is one of the UK's most picturesque regions, offering rolling hills, stunning lakes, hence the name Lake District, and charming villages. It's a paradise for nature lovers, hikers, and those seeking a peaceful retreat in the countryside. This area inspired poets like William Wordsworth and remains a haven for anyone who loves the outdoors. And this is a place where I used to sometimes go with my family. We'd stay for a week. And in particular, I'd go with my dad. And my dad's the athletic, adventurous, sporty type. So he'd always try to convince me and encourage me to go hiking with him, which I do sometimes. And then in more recent times, I have been going to the Lake District with my best mates because every year or two we try to go camping. And when thinking about places, destinations to go camping, usually the Lake District is at the top of our list because from my hometown, it's like maybe an hour and a half to get to the Lake District. And then we can set up camp, we can pitch the tent, we can start our barbecue and have a good time. So the Lake District is lovely. And here are some highlights. Well, you can hike up Scafell Pike, which is England's highest peak, highest summit, the highest area of England, which isn't the same as the highest peak in the UK, which is in Scotland, called Ben Nevis. But Scafell Pike is England's. And in England, we don't have a lot of mountains. So that's about as good as it gets. In addition, you can take a boat trip on Lake Windermere, which is the largest natural lake in England. It's huge, it's enormous, and it's really beautiful. Lots of different areas that you can see, and it feels almost like an ocean. Then you can visit Beatrix Potter's house and gardens in the village of Nearsaury. Gotta be honest, don't know where that is. And you can wander through Grasmere village and try some famous gingerbread. Grasmere I have been to, and it's really nice, really green, and really serene. And gingerbread, like the gingerbread man, a great snack. Delicious. And you can explore the beautiful Buttermere for serene walking routes around the lake. So the Lake District is definitely a nice rural place that you can visit if you don't want to go to London, Edinburgh, and all of the cities I'm about to mention. Now, the fourth one, my fourth recommendation. Embarrassingly, this is a place that I haven't visited yet. My girlfriend has been. A lot of my students have been as well. But I've never been. I have never visited Bath. I've never been to Bath. And just pronunciation here. Because in the south of England, they would say Bath. Bath. Like a long R. However, in the north of England, we'd say Bath. And the TH is almost like an F. I've never been to Bath. I've never been to Bath. So yeah, I feel guilty. I've never been to Bath. I probably should go, because from what I've seen and heard, it's a beautiful place. So why should you, and why should I, visit Bath? Well, this historic city in southwest England is famous for its Roman baths and stunning Georgian architecture. Bath's elegant streets are lined with honey-coloured stone buildings, and the Roman Baths complex offers a fascinating glimpse into Britain's ancient past. And the city is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And yeah, it's one of these places that seems like a bit of a fairy tale because it's so old-fashioned and it's like it hasn't been affected by the modern day and it hasn't been changed like many other cities have been. So Bath is very well preserved. And here are some highlights. You can visit the Roman baths and learn about ancient spa culture. You can relax in the modern Thermy Bath Spa with rooftop views of the city. You can marvel and appreciate the grandeur of the Royal Crescent and the circus, which I believe our beautiful gardens and parks. And you can explore the Jane Austen Centre for insights into the life and works of one of England's greatest authors. And last but not least, you can walk along the Kennet and Avon Canal for scenic waterside views. It sounds beautiful. Bath sounds really nice. Like I said, I haven't been, but maybe this is the year. Maybe I can go to one of the ancient baths and go to the spa. Why not? Now, moving on to number 5, this is a place much closer to home, but has a very, very similar history and similar appearance by all accounts. It is York. Not New York, York, York. The original. And York is really close to Leeds as well. I can go to York in about an hour. And it's a beautiful city. If I had to live in the UK, I mentioned that I wouldn't mind living in Edinburgh, but York would be another option. That I think it's a beautiful city, and yeah, it's close to home as well. So win-win. It's a win-win location. But why should you visit York? Well, York is a city that perfectly blends history with a vibrant cultural scene. It boasts a wealth of medieval architecture, including the towering York Minster, which is one of the largest cathedrals in Northern Europe. The city's cobbled streets, like the Shambles, transport you back in time, while its museums and galleries offer a modern touch. And York, it has a nice river running through it. You have lots of really nice shops and cafes. Other places that you can visit around the outskirts of York is Malton. So Malton, Malton, is a lovely market town, which is like half an hour away from York. And it has a very similar vibe whilst being much smaller. So that could be added to the list of places that you could go to. But let me tell you more about some highlights. So, explore York Minster, which is a stunning cathedral, and it is one of the most stunning cathedrals in the UK, without a shadow of a doubt. You can wander through the Shambles, which is a medieval street lined with quirky shops, and I believe they recorded some of Harry Potter in the Shambles. You know, the scene at the beginning when he's trying to get his wand, his magic wand. I think Harry and Hagrid are walking through the Shambles because they're very, very narrow streets. And you can also walk the city walls. Yes, the city is surrounded by ancient walls, and that way you can have panoramic views. And then you can also visit the Hovig or Jorvik Viking Center. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's some Viking stuff. But it is a Viking museum, essentially. So you can discover the Viking heritage of York. And last but not least, you can take a riverboat cruise along the river, and it is the River Ouse. So you can take a riverboat cruise. So York, really beautiful place to go. If you're visiting the north of England in general, I think it has to be on your list of places to go to, alongside Leeds, Manchester, Newcastle, and Liverpool, of course. But now let me tell you about number 6. It is Cornwall. And Cornwall is really nice. It is really picturesque. I think it's probably the most picturesque place in the UK. And if you're thinking about the map, it is right at the southwest of the country of England. So it's like the English Riviera. Because you have the best beaches, the best sea. It's a place where there's lots of surfing. There are some hippies. The climate is generally speaking better than it is in the rest of England. So that's my first opinions about Cornwall, but let me tell you some other reasons why you should visit. So Cornwall, in southwest England, is known for its stunning coastline, charming fishing villages, and scenic beaches. With its mild climate, it's a perfect destination for beach lovers, surfers, and those seeking a laid-back vibe. Cornwall also has a unique cultural identity, with strong Celtic influences, and they even speak a bit of a local dialect around Cornwall, which is known as Cornish. And there are different Celtic influences around the UK, mainly in Scotland and Northern Ireland, but also a little bit in Wales and Cornwall. And in addition to that, around Brittany in the northwest of France. But Cornwall, honestly, just Google it, have a look at the beaches, and you'll be like, what? That's England? Seriously? That looks like Italy. That looks like Greece. Only on nice sunny days, obviously. But some of the highlights are that you can visit the picturesque village of St. Ives, which is a fishing village with art galleries. You can walk the dramatic coastal paths near Land's End. So the most southern part of England is known as Land's End. You can then explore Tintagel Castle, which is associated with the legend of King Arthur. And you can relax on Porthcurno Beach and visit the unique open-air Minnock Theatre. And you can take a trip to the subtropical Isles of Scilly, just off the coast. So yes, we have some tiny islands, some isles, which are just south of Cornwall. And here, it really does feel like you're in somewhere which is almost Mediterranean. But now I've been to Cornwall a couple of times, once with my family, once with some friends to try surfing, and it's really pretty. Even if you go outside of the peak months of summer, you'll have a great time, and it's really nice. And I have one German student who actually did go to Cornwall a couple of months ago, and she went during the heat wave. So she was over the moon. She was like, wow, 25 degrees in April in England, and the beaches are fairly empty. Ah, fantastic. So check out Cornwall. Now, number 7. We're continuing the theme of rural areas rather than just saying the big cities that you might already be familiar with. And number 7 is the Cotswolds. The Cotswolds. And why should you visit the Cotswolds? Well, the Cotswolds is a quintessentially British region with rolling hills, golden stone villages, and beautiful countryside. It's an area of outstanding natural beauty, offering charming towns like Burton on the Water or Stow on the Wold, and the Cotswolds are ideal for a leisurely countryside getaway. And you might know English with Lucy, where she used to live is in the Cotswolds. So you can see how beautiful the scenery is. But basically, this region is kind of southwest, near to Bath, near to Wales, and you have all of these very stereotypical little villages, which are very cute, very picturesque, very nice, but it's not a very inhabited area. It's not very populated. So you have the true feeling of being in the countryside. And some things that you can do is wander through the beautiful village of Bibury, described by William Morris as the most beautiful village in England. You can enjoy afternoon tea in a traditional Cotswold tea room. You can visit Blenheim Palace, which is the birthplace of Winston Churchill. You can explore the Cotswold Wildlife Park for a family-friendly day out, or you can also hike part of the Cotswold Way, which is a 102-mile walking trail. So, we've already got a plan for you around the southwest of England. Bath, Cotswolds, and Cornwall. But now let's move up, and away to Scotland again. And why should you visit the Scottish Highlands? Because number 8 is the Scottish Highlands. And the Scottish Highlands are famous for their rugged landscapes, dramatic mountains, and deep glens. It's a region rich in folklore and natural beauty, perfect for hiking, wildlife spotting, bird watching, exploring Scotland's most iconic scenery. Loch Ness, home to the legendary monster, and the scenic Isle of Skye are must-see spots. Now I've got to come clean. I've got to admit and confess the fact that I haven't been to the Highlands. Nope, I probably should. And it's something that a lot of people tell me that they'd like to do, that they'd like to rent a car or a van and go on a wonderful road trip of the Highlands. Because it's true that the scenery, the landscapes do look breathtaking. They're absolutely amazing. And you can get great food in Scotland, in particular fish and chips and pies, Aberdeen Angus, so great steaks and burgers, and maybe, if you're lucky, you can see the Loch Ness Monster. Now, if you want to see what the Scottish Highlands looks like in a little bit more detail, I have a recommendation for you, which maybe I recommended on a previous podcast speaking about 15 series that you can watch to improve your British English, and it was The Traitors. So The Traitors is recorded and set in a castle in the middle of the Scottish Highlands. Strangely, when they're recording, it's always good weather, which, is a bit weird. I don't quite get it, because in the Highlands, usually it's pretty cold, wet, and miserable. But hey, whenever they record The Traitors, it's always good weather, and I personally think that The Traitors is a great, interesting, engaging series. So if you want to see what the Highlands looks like in more detail, you can see some amazing pictures from The Traitors. But some other highlights before we move on is that you can visit Loch Ness and hunt for the mythical monster. You can explore the dramatic landscapes of Glen Cloe, which is famous for its striking mountains. And I believe there's lots of whiskey around this area, around Glencoe. You can also drive along the North Coast 500, which is this scenic road trip route around the far north of Scotland. You can discover the breathtaking fairy pools on the Isle of Skye, which are little kind of swimming pools which are built into these islands. And you can climb Ben Nevis, which is the UK's highest mountain. But be careful, because it might not seem like it's that high, but weather changes can happen at any moment. So you need to be well prepared, you need to check the weather forecast, and you need to make sure that you have enough equipment and clothes to be able to do this safely, because Ben Nevis is quite a bit higher than Scafell Pike, which was England's highest mountain. Now I'm going to do 2 more. Let's do Oxford now. Yes, of course, you know Oxford and Cambridge, these places with 2 of the most famous universities. Because, they're all over the place, and their name is associated with dictionaries. So, if you want to do an exam in English, you might have to do it in Oxford or Cambridge. So, I'm going to choose Oxford because it's here as number 9, and let me tell you a little bit about it. So, why should you visit Oxford? It's home to one of the world's oldest and most prestigious universities. Oxford is a city of beautiful architecture, history, and academic excellence. The city's dreaming spires and charming colleges offers a unique blend of history and culture, making it a must-visit for history enthusiasts and book lovers alike. And, well, the university itself is beautiful. The old town itself is beautiful. Oxford is just a really nice place, and it's fairly easy to get to from London. So if you are doing this southern trip to London and maybe Oxford and Cambridge, it's fairly easy to get around using just public transport. But highlights are that you can tour the historic colleges of Oxford University, you can visit the Bodleian Library and the Ashmolean Museum. You can take a leisurely punt along the River Cherwell. You can explore the Oxford Botanic Garden, the oldest botanic garden in the UK, and you can stroll through Christchurch Meadow, where Lewis Carroll found inspiration for Alice in Wonderland. So that is Oxford. Now, I'm not going to finish just there, but, with this article, we've been going over lots of different places, and all of them are very old-fashioned and historical, whereas there are many other cities around the UK which don't have quite as much history to them, or maybe they do have history to them, but they're just, student cities, industrial cities, and I'd like to bring your attention to the region where I'm from, which is Yorkshire, specifically West Yorkshire. And I think it is worth visiting Leeds. But my idea for you is just to make a trip of the north of England. And maybe in the future, I can actually organize some kind of immersion experience with me staying in different places around the UK and using English in a relaxed environment. It's something, an idea that I'm toying with, that I'm considering. I'm toying with the idea of maybe next year doing an immersion course of a week in different areas of the UK. But nothing is set in stone. Nothing has been established yet. But I would suggest that you fly to Manchester. You may have heard on previous conversations and podcasts that Manchester isn't my favourite city, but I don't mind it. It's just uglier than Liverpool and Leeds. But it's a big transport hub, and it's in between Liverpool and Leeds. So I'd recommend that you travel and fly in to Manchester. You spend a night and a day in Manchester, and then you go to Liverpool, because Liverpool is slightly smaller, but there's more history. There's the Beatles. It's a really interesting accent. You can go to the beach if you want to. You can go to the docks. You can see many lovely buildings, and the people are really friendly, down to earth, and happy-go-lucky. So you spend a night in Liverpool. This is assuming that you don't mind travelling around too much. So to recap, fly to Manchester, spend a day, get the train, 50 minutes to Liverpool, spend another day and night, then get another train straight to Leeds, spend a day and a night, then from there, get another train. By the way, from Liverpool to Leeds, it's an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer. But then from Leeds to York, it's half an hour. So that's your next stop. You spend a day and a night in York. And if you've got limited time, this is probably enough. But if you fancy renting a car, and going to the countryside. Then I'd spend a day or two in the Yorkshire Dales, which is the countryside of lots of meadows and hills and old quaint villages to the north of Leeds, and then drive to the Lake District, which is where you have mountains, lakes, more villages, really beautiful again. So then in total, you're looking at maybe a week, perhaps 8 days, and from there, you can drive back to Manchester Airport and head home. So that is my recommendation for you. If you've made it to the end of this podcast and you've heard my recommendation, I want to know your thoughts. Has anybody visited these places before? Or does this idea sound good to you? Or perhaps, on the other hand, does it sound a little bit too stressful? Because I admit that it would be a lot of actual time spent traveling. Train here, train there, renting a car, driving, getting used to driving on the left-hand side as well. So it's not for everybody, but I think you'd have a great time, and I think it'd be quite authentic, real, a genuine Northern English experience. But if not, Edinburgh's great. London obviously is amazing, and you can combine it with different places at the same time. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast of me rambling once again, speaking about different places you can visit in the UK. And if you want to improve your pronunciation, try to repeat after me, try to copy the way that I speak, and I guarantee that you'll make progress. And if you'd like classes with me, do not hesitate to ask. And on the link in this video description, you can also select the British English Immersion Club, or you can buy classes with me. So thanks once again. I appreciate it. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!